This is the Weekly Squeeze, and I am your talented and lovely host, Chanale Music, coming at you from the beautiful land of Israel. This is episode 210. We have a great show for you today, and by we, I mean me, myself, and I, and my multiple personalities. Speaking of personalities, Michal Weinstein is here, and if you don't know her, you are in for a treat. She is passionate and fearless and has been banned from social media all over the place. I think Instagram 5 times for truth. She says it like it is, and people don't like to hear it. But today you're going to hear it here on the Weekly Squeeze. So thank you for tuning in and subscribing and being a fan and a listener and a critic. We love you all. And the Paralympics, well, those begin next week in Paris with Israel sending a team of 28 Muslims, Druze, and Jews to compete. Who are these amazing athletes? What can we learn from them? Today I'll share their stories and so much more. So stick around because I have a great show for you. All of you listening all around the world. But before we go any further, a quick word from our sponsor. This week's episode of the Weekly Squeeze has been sponsored by the Heartland Initiative. Based in the rolling hills of Yehuda and Shomron, or what I call Israel proper, they're doing incredible work building bridges and forging relationships that create real transformative impact around the world. The Heartland Initiative is a grassroots effort connecting international leaders, philanthropists, and professionals with their Israeli counterparts here in the land of Israel to combat anti-Semitism and secure human rights and cultivate connections, cultural connections. That's what it's about. They believe in the power of collaboration, and that's why they've collabed with me. So if you're an Israel supporter, passionate about social justice, cultural understanding, and innovation, I encourage you to check out their website. The link is in the show notes, the Heartland Initiative. They're making a tangible difference, and I support them. All right, guys, let's get right into it. How are you all doing? Thank you so much for the feedback on the new show, the good, the bad, and the ugly. YouTube comments are an entire other animal. I am learning what this means to now be on YouTube, but we'll get to the comment section of this show a little later. But first, I want to share a WhatsApp message I got from a longtime follower. And I actually think it's really sweet that some of you feel comfortable just to shoot me a WhatsApp and be like, hey, I'm a listener to your podcast, and this is what I think. I take those messages to heart because I know that you feel close to me and you're just sharing what's in your hearts. So one of you wrote to me like this. You wrote, I really enjoyed your podcasts. You were humble, easy to listen to, and relatable. I'm already getting nervous because it says you were. Uh-oh, what changed? The past few podcasts were missing that. Something was not the same. This is not an insult. I'm not insulted. I'm just trying to figure out if going to the studio and then, the editing and all of that is taking away the personable part of the podcast. I will continue to listen. Good girl. Thank you. So, I've been thinking about that WhatsApp all week because the truth is that this is new for me. I've been on camera before and I'm pretty comfortable looking at you all in the eye. But at the same time, I'm kind of transitioning from, I am transitioning. It's 2024. People are like, she's transitioning. We're going to spread that all over the internet. But I've moved from a podcast that was being recorded in my house to this beautiful set. I mean, it's just great, not intimidating at all. So it's going to take me time to get back into the zone. But ultimately, I am here to present this podcast to you and do what I've been doing for the last 2 years, bringing you free entertainment and asking just for, a thumbs up, a like, a comment, maybe a 5-star rating in return. So have a little patience, and the show is just going to get better and better, all right? Let's talk about me. As a matter of fact, let's talk about you, because I have an award for all of you that is addressed to me, and I felt even guilty accepting it because it's you guys who gave money to make this happen. So let me fill you in so you know why I have this beautiful award here that was given to me by the IDF, who, by the way, I'm now an honorary member of. I'm an honorary member of the IDF. They gave me a uniform, they gave me a bullet, they took me in their Jeep, and I was in the IDF, and I could not be prouder. So share that with your friends. So this week, we hosted a barbecue for 250 active soldiers on the southern border of Israel in Kisufim. I hope I'm allowed to say that on the record, but the truth is, don't mess with the IDF. Like, if you know where they are, just keep driving, okay? They will mess you up. So we're at the army base, 5 o'clock sharp, exactly like we had planned. I'm making sure that the caterer is coming on time and the DJ's unpacking his gear. And of course, it's just so hot because it's the summer, and I hate to complain about it, but it's boiling. But everybody's smiling and they're excited and we're having a party. Anyways, I'm ready to just like get the grills going. And the soldier that was basically like my connection was like, we're taking you into Gaza. I was like, oh, great, amazing. My husband was like, no thanks. And I was like, okay, where else can we go? He's like, well, have you been to Nova? Have you been to the memorial space where the Nova Dance Festival massacre took place? And I said, you know what? I wasn't. I did come to the South, but I did not make it there. So he says, great. And he yells to someone, get her a uniform, get her madim. And I'm thinking, cool, like I have to wear a uniform, like this is legit. I'm gonna go into an army tank and, I get her in a helmet and the whole thing. Anyways, they throw me a uniform. I realized then that there's also girls on this base, and the uniform probably belongs to an 18-year-old, because if I tell you that I tried to get those pants up so desperately, I'm like, I really want to wear this uniform. I really want to make it work. What am I going to do? Go out and be like, I'm so sorry. I know you want to take me on this back roads trip through Gaza, but the uniform just doesn't. It was awful. I managed to get it on. I come out, they put me in the Jeep, they seatbelt me in. They don't say how long we're going to be out for. I'm like, you guys, we're kind of here for the barbecue and the DJ. They're like, Chana, you're coming with us. And we went for like a half hour, and we drove through the south of Israel, about 500 meters from the Gaza border, and I saw the dunes. I saw the sand dunes where all the Nova Festival survivors were hiding in when they ran from the terrorists that day, that awful day on October 7th. And it was just like I saw in the many videos that Israelis filmed when they were hiding there, knowing that there was a massive slaughter happening, where they were just dancing and celebrating life. So that was very intense for me. This, it happened here, and I could see why. There's tons of space, and everybody comes out, and they can have a good time. And Israelis love the heat, and they love the land, and it's just so beautiful that we have this space for them to do that. Little did they know. And then we pull into Nova, and I have to say, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot since October 7th. I've taken in the footage, and I've read the stories, and I've watched the funerals, and I've experienced every last heartbreaking moment of what it means to be at war just because you exist. And Nova was just next level. I mean, Nova was just the saddest place in the world. That's how I could describe it. It was the saddest place in the world. To see in HD, in vivid color, the lives cut down on that day and where they were celebrating, and the beauty in these young people who were all together, and you see all their faces, and you were like, wow, all of these people were gathered here today, and they were celebrating life, and now they've left a massive gaping hole in the hearts of their families, and I don't look away. Like I said, I watch the funerals and I see the pain, and it's brutal. And I could talk about this for a while, but I want to get to some really interesting and important things today. Ultimately, we got back to the base after walking around Nova a bit. And if you want to see footage, I'm going to put some in the Weekly Squeeze WhatsApp chat. The link is going to be in the show notes. So we get back to the base, the barbecue starts unrolling, we're working at a frantic pace, we're trying to get the meat out, we're setting up the tables, we're unpacking all the cutlery and the food, and the DJ's, getting into the vibe, and the soldiers are rolling in. Now you have to remember, these soldiers were just in Gaza 5 minutes ago. Like, they came in there fully, completely packed. They were wearing every single weapon possible and sweating like madmen, but they were just so fine about it. There was no resentment, no anger. There was camaraderie. There was responsibility. There was joy. I mean, the guys were able to switch into a positive mode and hang out and just enjoy the vibe of the barbecue and the music. And there was no animosity. It was just so beautiful. And that's how I knew, I don't have to be proven this ever, but that's once again how I'm reminded that we're on the right side. I mean, we're on the right side. Guys, just open your eyes. Seriously. The IDF is awesome. So we did our barbecue, and then I'm going to wrap it up shortly because this is just fascinating. I can do an entire episode about this particular experience. They take us into the security room or the information room where the IDF actually does their surveillance over Gaza. And I'm so naive and inexperienced. I'm like, I thought the base is just a bunch of bunkers, but no, it's they have headquarters there, and they have screens, and they're watching everything that's going on in Gaza, and they're keeping an eye on our soldiers as they do what they need to do on the other side of the border. And this room bore witness. Does that make sense? Bore witness? And this room was witness to the young female soldiers dragging in other soldiers that had been shot by Hamas in that base. Okay, so let me just paint a picture. You have all these girls, all these IDF soldiers, 18 years old, and they're manning the cameras, and they're, on the phones. And by the way, we asked, how come all the girls are the ones who do the surveillance? And they said it's because boys don't have sitzfleisch. They can't sit. So, the girls there, it just makes more sense that they do it. And the girls said, so we're sitting here and we're manning the base, and we're, doing surveillance, and then terrorists were here. And they were shooting at our soldiers, and they point to the wall, and lo and behold, there's a poster with like 30 soldiers that were killed on October 7th, right there in this space. And I said, "You guys are here from October 7th?" And they said, "Yeah, we're here since October 7th. We're survivors. These girls are survivors." Okay, and that's who you're sending money to, by the way. When we make IDF barbecues, you're sending money to the most incredible individuals, young people that have such intense resolve. They're willing to stay in the same space where a massacre took place, and instead of thinking, "Oh, it's so negative, it was so tragic for me, I can't push through this," they're like, "No, heck no, we're going to double down, we're going to increase the amount of soldiers here, we're going to do more surveillance, and this is never going to happen again, and we're going to do it because these soldiers that lost their lives while they were out there fighting terrorists to protect us women, us girls who are hiding out here, they deserve it. They deserve it." And those were the soldiers that we did the barbecue for. And it couldn't have been a greater honor. So if you would like to support our IDF soldiers, and they're incredibly grateful. They all said the same thing. They all said, "Thank you so much for thinking about us." I said, "Thinking about you? We're obsessed with you." They're like, "Really? You guys still think about us?" I said, "Yeah." And I think they're under the impression that we kind of moved on, and now they're just, it's another day at work. The IDF soldiers have to do their thing. But when we show up with food and a DJ and we're like, "Hey, we love you guys. This is, money from America that is paying for the barbecue," they could not be more grateful. They could not be more invigorated. And it's incredibly important to support the IDF. So go ahead and check out that link. And I will tell you about our next party, because yes, we have another party on Thursday night. I'm living the dream. Speaking of Israel's heroes, the 2024 Paralympics Games in Paris are approaching, and there's a lot of excitement around it. We have 28 athletes that are more than just talented. I'm going to share with you their inspiring stories, and we can learn from them. We're going to learn from them the resilience and, of course, the way they reflect the diversity in Israel. We have Jews, Muslims, and Druze all coming together to represent their country, Israel, on the world stage. All right, I'm going to throw up their pictures here because athletes deserve to be seen and recognized, especially when they're Israeli and awesome. Adam Berdachevsky, he's a wheelchair tennis player competing in his third Paralympics Games. Adam's journey to Paris started after a tragic accident in Thailand in 2007, where he lost his leg when a ferry he was on was capsized. This is why Israeli parents are always in a panic when their kids leave the country. I mean, accidents happen and you worry. But despite the unimaginable experience, Adam found strength in tennis, and he went on to win multiple titles, and he represents Israel internationally. That's right, he plays tennis in a wheelchair. So if you're like, "I should be playing tennis," and you have 2 feet, well, you could go play tennis. You could even become an Olympian. This year, of course, has been very tough for everyone. And during the October 7th war, Adam and his family spent 14 terrifying hours in a safe room, fearing for their lives. Yet here he is. He's still pushing forward, driven for the love of country and his sport. So we're going to cheer Adam on. I thought this was a great story because every single athlete had a great story. So I was like, let's dig into this because we can't just focus on the negative. We gotta support our terrific Israeli athletes who are just made of something else. These guys are made of something else. They're born winners. Israelis are born winners. Like, we win all the time. I don't know why anyone is doubting that for 1 second. We're not afraid of the long road. We're going to get there. We're going to win. And the one who laughs last laughs best. Chaim. All right, next, Guy Sasson, another tennis player with an incredible story. Guy was injured in a snowboarding accident in 2015. He was left with serious spinal injuries, and the doctors actually did not think he would walk again, but he proved them wrong. And now he's one of Israel's top Paralympic contenders. Just this June, he won the wheelchair quads single cup at Roland Garros. His journey from injury to victory is a testament to his and our resilience. And it just gets better and better. Listen to this. Mayan Zikri, a young tennis star who lost her leg in an accident at an amusement park when she was 11. Today she's 21, and she's ranked one of the most top para-tennis players globally and is a strong medal contender in Paris. Her journey from such a devastating injury, imagine 11-year-old going to an amusement park, all excited to have the best day of her life and then losing her leg on a ride. That's pretty horrifying and traumatizing. And now she's a world-class athlete, and that is amazing, really amazing. But she's humble. She doesn't give herself the credit. She says that it's all her team, and she couldn't have done it without them. So go Ma'ayan. Another standout is Julia Chernoy, who is expected to bring home a medal. Go Julia. She was born with a disability that affects her ability to walk, but that hasn't stopped her from chasing her dreams. She started out as a para-triathlete, even winning a European championship. And then she switched to shooting after the Rio Games in 2016. She is awesome. Look out for Julia. Yeah, you look at this team and you find inspiration. You find inspiration because Israel's athletes are representing Israel, and they embody the strength and spirit of our nation. You cannot keep us down. From swimmer Ami Dadon, who's already won gold in Tokyo, to Taekwondo world champion Asaf Yassour, who overcame a childhood accident to become a top athlete. Every member of this team has a story of overcoming the odds. Moshe Mutz Matalon, the chairman of Israel's Paralympic Committee, he summed it up perfectly when he said, "Our delegation represents all segments of Israeli society." Even though I personally don't feel represented. I can't play tennis or run or do anything remotely athletic. I am resilient, though. Have you read the YouTube comments? He shares that their team includes Jews, Muslims, and Druze, and they have an equal number of men and women because we're all about equality in this country, okay? Look at me. I'm Israeli, and I have my own talk show. Nobody's stopping me. And we include veterans and new immigrants, experienced athletes, and first-time Paralympians. He shared the team is more than just a group of athletes. It's a reflection of Israel's diversity, strength, and unbreakable spirit. I love this. We're going to be cheering them on as they compete in Paris, and we're excited to see what they're going to achieve. Best of luck to Israel's Paralympians. This week's episode of The Weekly Squeeze has been brought to you by Queen Tulsi. Queen Tulsi is a daily stress relief. What does that mean? That means you wake up and you're stressed and you're moody and you're anxious and you're overwhelmed because you're a human being in 2024. But there's some good news. Let me introduce you to Queen Tulsi, and some of you have already ordered it using my coupon code Chanale for 15% off, and good for you, because this is going to change your life. I know you've heard that before, but this will change your life because living stress-free is life-changing, and it's going to give you great skin. Exhibit A. If you're watching on YouTube, Exhibit A. I have great skin. And I'm pretty chill because I take 1, 2, 3 Queen Tulsis, depending on how I'm feeling, every single day. And I think you should too. It's a natural remedy. It has ashwagandha developed by an herbal chemist. It's the only herbal stress relief formula of its kind. Okay, let's say that again. It's the only stress relief formula, all natural and kosher, of its kind. and it has Tulsi and ashwagandha. I'm not a chemist. I'm not an herbologist, but everybody's saying ashwagandha. It just, whatever it does, it's doing something that's making people feel good. The result is a natural, quick-acting way to calm your mind, lift your brain fog, and balance inflammation in your body. And what sets it apart from everything else on the market that you can pick up in the grocery store? Well, it's a small batch crafted with just 5 of the freshest herbs, ensuring maximum potency. So you don't have to take it every single day. You can take it 5 days a week and feel the results. You can take as many as you feel comfortable with because it's all natural. Plus, it's 100% kosher, vegan, non-GMO, and free of anything artificial. So go ahead and click on the show note links, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because you can use the code Queen Chanale at CarolineBassHealth.com to get 15% off your order, including subscriptions. All right, guys, go on our website. She has tons of reviews. It's a great product. I would not promote it if I didn't fully believe in it. And it's not a belief thing. It's just a feeling. You want to feel calm? Queen Tulsi. All right, tweet of the week. This might become a thing, tweet of the week. You guys know I spend way too much time on social media, but sometimes I come across things that, not sometimes, often I come across things that really hit the spot. And that's because we have a community of like-minded Twitter warriors that are out there on the internet dealing with all the anti-Semites every single day. And they're fighting the good fight. And you know, they're sharing how hard it is to be a Zionist today. And it is. And it's ridiculous because Zionism is believing Israel has the right to exist. I mean, how demonic do you have to be to not believe that Israel has the right to exist? So this is a tweet from Lelam SLP entitled, "How Haters Made Me More Zionist Than I Ever Was." I found this old photo. This is me, where I was in Jewish Children's Ensemble Aliyah in Vilnius, Lithuania. We were singing in Yiddish and Hebrew. We didn't know neither Yiddish nor Hebrew. We learned the words by heart. In many ways, I grew up not differently than other kids in Lithuania. Lithuanian and Russian languages were my native languages. But my family, even though atheists for generations, always made sure that being Jewish was part of my identity. When I was 15, we repatriated to Israel, not because of financial considerations, but because we were Zionists. I ended up marrying a Jewish man and having Jewish kids. At some point, my Jewish identity became not so important to me. There were things about being Jewish that made me angry. Paradoxically, religious Jews in Israel did everything to make me reject my Jewishness. Jews never imposed Judaism on non-Jewish people. On the contrary, it's hard to convert to Judaism, even for those who want it. On October 7th, everything changed. If the haters think that by slaughtering us in cold blood that they're going to make Israel, Judaism, and Zionism disappear, they couldn't be more wrong. The mass murderers who murder people for being Jewish created so many new Zionists, and they strengthened the Jewish identity of secular Jews. I understand now better how Jewish identity of my country here in Israel is needed and how it helps us survive. Survive literally, not only to preserve the ancient identity of Jewish people, but survive as in not be slaughtered in cold blood by barbaric monsters. Since October 7th, I'm learning history and discovering how much I didn't know or forgot to even consider important. It's important for me that my children know history and preserve their Jewish identity. I hope this world will become a bit better for our children, but it will take time, and a bright future is not close yet. In 3 years, my son will be in the IDF. I'd be the happiest person if it wasn't needed. But unfortunately, we can't survive without the IDF, Zionism, and Israel. All right, shifting gears, let's get into the YouTube comment section. That's going to be fun. All right, Jahal7712. You sound Jewish. Chanale, congratulations. You have won the Zionist of the Year award. Reasoning, you have publicly demonstrated that you have perfectly learned the basic teaching of Zionism. Quote, everything but Jews hates Jews. Congratulations once again on all that Zionism has accomplished. 76 years of ethnic oppression, apartheid Israel, genocide, destruction of the U.S. economy, suffering of millions, etc. And Candace Owens' career. Okay. Let's break it down, because you don't know what you're talking about. Number one, what is this business with everyone hates Jews? Really? Because the last time I checked, there are plenty of people around the world that support Israel and the Jewish people. So if you support Israel and the Jewish people, give the show a big thumbs up. Maybe try expanding your social circle beyond some conspiracy theories. 76 years of ethnic oppression, apartheid Israel. Okay, my pharmacist is an Arab. The guy who literally prescribes drugs to my family is an Arab, and I trust him because there's no apartheid here. So I don't know what to talk about. Genocide, like Donald Trump says, fake news. Hamas is a genocidal terrorist organization, and our war is against Hamas, who hide among civilians in schools and in hospitals. And the IDF, whom I love and support, have done a remarkable job avoiding civilian casualties whenever possible. Plus, if we wanted them all to die, we just let them all get polio. But instead, we've sent them millions of vaccines. So again, fake news. What else did you say? The destruction of the U.S. economy. I always think, if the Jews would just leave the countries that hate them so much, well, then those countries would get what they deserve. Because you know what happens when the Jews leave your countries? Everything falls apart. And you know what happens when the Jews come to your countries? Everything thrives until the anti-Semites rear their ugly heads. So this notion that we somehow destroy the U.S. economy, let me tell you something. The U.S. and Israel have a partnership. It's a strong economic partnership based on a collaboration in technology, defense, and trade. All important things for strong countries. So despite what all the anti-Semites think about us, without us, you would be cooked. Okay, who's a better ally? Canada? Mexico? Australia? No offense to any of those countries, but, knock it off. Like, we're the best thing. We're the best thing that you guys have. One of them, at least. We love Ben Shapiro. And the suffering of millions. The suffering of millions. We're responsible. The Jews, this tiny, tiny country in the Middle East surrounded by 44 Arab nations, most of them who tried to kill us on a regular basis yesterday when they shot thousands of missiles into Israel from Lebanon. But you can watch the news for that and find out exactly what we're dealing with. But we're causing the suffering of millions. If the Gazans would put down their weapons, we'd all live happily ever after. It's very simple. This has nothing to do with us. We are the victims. Don't forget that. That said, we will not be victimized, and we don't like being victims, so leave us alone. Tyree Brew said, she said a lot of things over a period of time, getting nastier and more demonic as time went on. It's disgusting. Thank you, Candace Owens, for giving us the word demonic, because there is no better word to describe you when you're talking about the Jews, and that is demonic. Support for me and for the Jewish people. We love that. I admire your restraint. I would have had much harsher words, but had my family been through the Holocaust. That's right. It's imperative that people educate the masses so they can see her depictions are terribly flawed. That's what I was thinking. Candace Owens should come to Israel and she should go to the Holocaust Museum. That's what you should do. And I will be there to take her and walk her through it so she sees what happens when you start spreading propaganda and lies about the Jewish people and how dangerous that is and what that results in and why I am a living miracle, because my grandmother's family were completely obliterated by the Nazis. And I'm here because one person survived, and that was my grandmother. And she had 10 children, and I'm one of the grandchildren, and I made Aliyah. So yeah, don't talk to me about the Holocaust. We don't want that to happen again. All right, feel free to send me an email, chanalesings@gmail.com. Join the Weekly Squeeze WhatsApp chat. The link is in the show notes. Subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment if you think I know what I'm talking about, or if you think I don't know what I'm talking about. All comments are good comments. You could even leave an emoji. 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts is always appreciated. And to all my listeners who are not watching, feel free to subscribe just because you love me and you support me and you want to see what color jacket I am wearing today. All right, I am thrilled to introduce my guest today, Michal Lara Weinstein, hailing from the vibrant Five Towns. Michal is an Orthodox New Yorker, devoted wife and mother of 4. We love New Yorkers. She's the creative powerhouse behind MLW Design and Events 360 and the visionary founder of Couture for a Cause. With a sharp background in advertising and marketing from Stern College and the School of Visual Arts, Michal's journey began in the glamorous world of Eli Tahari. She launched MLW Design in 2003, dazzling clients with her expertise in logos, branding, and print design. In 2007, she teamed up with Esther Berg, everyone knows Esther, we love her, to create Couture for a Cause, sparking innovation and support for Jewish organizations and local causes through dazzling fundraisers. I was at a Couture for a Cause event, and it was awesome. We talk about it. But Michal's creativity doesn't stop there. In 2017, she took her flair for event planning to new heights with Events 360. Her viral designs like the Lion of Zion, which I have right here, we need to pull it down, and Kar'ana not only captivated the world, but raised crucial funds for families and causes in need. After moving to Florida in 2021 and facing challenges with censorship, they're even censoring censorship now. Michal's dream of making Aliyah finally came true in 2023. Now based in Israel, she's adapting to her new life while continuing to run her businesses remotely and sharing her inspiring journey with her followers on Instagram. Her links are in the show notes. Get ready to be inspired by Michal's remarkable story of resilience, creativity, and passion. Michal, welcome to the Weekly Squeeze.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is awesome. I am so happy that you came out and you're wearing sandals. You're not afraid to just deal with the heat and be Israeli.
I actually brought heels, and then when I got out of the car, I was like, who do I think I am?
You're a celeb, and now you're even a bigger celeb because you're on the Weekly Squeeze. So welcome. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
You were actually, your episode that we did 2 years ago on COVID, it was one of the most downloaded episodes that I had ever done.
No way.
Yes, it was.
I had no clue. Wow.
Yes, it was, because you spoke about things that people were afraid to say. Yeah. You addressed people's fears, their concerns. I think we all felt we were being gaslit by the government.
We were.
And I was in Israel and you were in America. So it was happening everywhere.
Yeah. Lots have changed since 2 years ago.
Lots have changed.
So much has changed.
Yes. So I want to get into it with you because I know that you are a proud Zionist. I know that you're a proud Israeli now. You're also a proud American.
Of course.
And that means something because, you know, my grandmother
I'm starting to lose it a little with everything that's happening.
Hard. It's so hard. I just want America to get it together so I could be proud of them again, you know? Right? So I feel that too, but there's hope. You know, Trump might end up back in office.
There's hopefully hope if they're not going to cheat. And they're already cheating in many ways.
Okay, so we're going to get into that.
Yeah, let's get into that.
But first, tell me about last night. You went to a wedding.
It was
I
amazing.
recognized it. It was in Psagot.
Yes, it was in Psagot. It was incredible. Considering what's going on in Israel, to see such simcha, to see such joy, such unbridled joy, was just the most beautiful sight.
And it's also a beautiful sight.
It was beautiful. The place is beautiful. But just to see the way the young girls and boys dancing with such simcha, I stared at them all night. I just stood there staring at them all night.
We so deserve it. We deserve these joyful moments.
We do.
So for those of you who've never been to Psagot, it's a winery in the, I would say, it's in Yehudan Sharon. Yes, it's Yehudan Sharon. And if you want to know more about Yehudan Sharon, you can go to the Heartland Initiative, our sponsor for the podcast.
Yes.
And the view is gorgeous. It's ancient biblical land, the land of our forefathers.
And vines.
And there's tons of grapes. And they have this amazing winery. I think it's the Phallics are investors in that winery.
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure.
The best was I took a clip, I posted on my stories of a woman, with a tichel and long skirt with a gun, and she was dancing with her gun. And I was like,
why do we love that so much?
Because it just shows that, we're here and we're defending our land. And even a woman in a tichel with a long skirt has a gun. And she's like, I'm fighting for my land.
But not because we want to have a gun.
No, we don't want a gun.
No choice.
And we don't want to hurt anyone. But you have to defend yourself. Look what happened. Look, you need to defend yourself. So
and
it was beautiful.
We're all in this together. So we can find that balance between going to a wedding and dressing up and having a great time and having a drink, but also knowing that we're not out of the woods yet.
No.
We're still in an active war here in Israel. For those of you who...
and every day, you wake up and you're like, what's this day going to bring?
Right.
I came from Europe, and as I was about to land, they put us in Athens. Why? Because Hezbollah was about to blow up Ben Gurion, and they've diverted us.
I mean, do people understand what that feels like? Like you're going home.
It's just not normal.
Your kids are here. But there is a terrorist group that is shooting 6,000 guided missiles indiscriminately into people's homes, into people's lives. Why? Who the heck? Because they're terrorists. And we have to practice restraint.
And the world accepts it.
The world doesn't
accepts
know.
it.
They don't even know that there's a war happening up north. They don't even talk about it on mainstream news.
Yeah.
Because if they would, then maybe more people would be up in arms, literally, because this is not a functioning way for a country to exist.
No.
And it's not for anything. Okay. We have, I want to let you talk about truth a little bit, because I think that's where it all comes down to. And we saw this consistently. We saw it with COVID, and now we're seeing it with the war.
Yeah, they're doing the same game. They're doing the same game.
Misinformation, messing with your head, gaslighting, and throwing around words that, big words that make you feel like, oh, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, when usually your intuition and your gut feeling.
Gut and intuition is everything. It's everything. And people have lost their ability to think for themselves. And they've lost their critical thinking. And slowly people are waking up. I do see it. I do see so many people opening their eyes more than ever. A lot has changed in the past few years. A lot of the truths that I shared 2 years ago that were crazy conspiracy theories are now coming to...
And now we have proof that they were conspiracy theories.
So, pretty much, practically every single thing that I said that I was canceled for has been proven true, including the fact that Facebook, Meta, has been actively censoring, working with the government. And I don't know if you saw the news, but Mark Zuckerberg just sent a letter to Congress admitting as much. He basically said, they made me do it. The Biden-Harris administration made me censor COVID, made me censor, and I regret doing it. It was wrong of me to do it. I apologize. I don't even know if he apologized, but he regrets it. Too late. After canceling millions of accounts. And listen, some accounts, no biggie, you canceled, they had 100 followers. But what about the accounts that had 25,000 followers?
Tell people what you were talking about in those days.
So when COVID hit, I was just sharing my journey, my awakening journey. And in the beginning, I was like everyone else. I was a sheeple like everyone else. I was believing CNN. And I just was like...
We're all going to die if we don't put a mask on and wrap ourselves in saran wrap.
Oh my gosh, I was that person with Lysol spraying everything. And in fact, I was so scared of dying that I was seeking treatments to keep me from dying, which is where I found Zelenko protocol. Because while we were waiting for this miracle vaccine, I needed something to save me in case I got it, because I don't want to die. I don't want my family to die. So I think that the fear of dying from COVID was what brought me to research the truth. Because
it was an existential crisis.
Right. I was like, wait a second. Do masks really work? Because I don't want to die. And then when I did the research, and back then, this was before Google removed all those research, I found so much research that showed that regular surgical masks, even N95s, don't stop viruses.
And that intubators don't save lives.
And ventilators do not save lives. So back then, when I realized that masks are not going to save me, what will save me? And then I realized, wait a second, my God-given immune system will save me. Hashem created me to fight off viruses. And if I'm healthy, then I have a fighting chance. So when Zelenko came out with his protocol, he said D, C, zinc, and hydroxy if need be, which you only take if need be. I'm not into taking drugs for no reason, but C, D, zinc, quercetin, all natural products, I was obsessed and I needed to share it with my audience. I wanted to help people. If I knew that by taking this, it was going to save me and my children, then why shouldn't my audience, which is mainly Jewish Orthodox women, let them know so that they can benefit from my research. And let me tell them the truth that your masks are not going to help you. So don't walk around thinking because you're wearing a mask, you're okay. You need to have a better immune system. You need sunshine. You need to eat right. So that was the beginning of my health journey, my holistic natural health journey.
But we didn't know that this was all part of a master plan, because when you convince people that you need to wear a mask or the virus is going to kill you all, then they go to, then the fear is what gets people to line up like sheep and take a vaccine.
So it was
clear
take the
vaccine. That's what it was. That was the direction.
That was what they wanted.
Right.
I mean, is the whole reason for COVID in order to sell vaccines? I'm not going to say that. But certainly we know that all the vaccine companies made trillions of dollars and a lot of people got rich. And they
we had
certainly...
to take 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
They wanted people to line up. And when I think back of my friends who literally jumped the line, they were so desperate. Young people who weren't eligible, remember in December of 2020, they weren't eligible because they weren't in the medical field. They weren't, you know what I mean? They jumped the line. They would sneak and figure out ways. And I remember they were so proud of themselves. And I watched this with horror. You're jumping the line for an experiment. Do you understand what you're doing? That was how desperate they made us. And everything they did was in order to make us die to get vaccinated.
What was in the vaccine ultimately that created so many post-COVID issues that people are suffering from? You know, I'm
again, I am not a scientist,
yeah.
and even though I've done so much research on this, I am not going to sit here and try to read you the ingredients. But I will tell you that what the vaccine supposedly does, according to them, is create spike proteins. Let's be real. What is spike proteins? That is what is harmful. The spike protein, that spiky crown around that virus, is what is causing what has caused a lot of issues when you have COVID and when you get the vaccine.
And you can't get it out of your system.
And there's no off button. So when you get the vaccine, it makes your body produce spike proteins. Great, now you build antibodies. Where's the off button? Where is the off button? So if you can't press a button to say, okay, no more
It's like
production.
you're constantly getting antibiotics. You're constantly getting...
Or it's a
constantly getting
constant
this
production
vaccine.
of spike, which is harmful. Spike is harmful. Spike is what causes the myocarditis. Spike is what causes the pericarditis. Spike is what causes the fertility. And they lied. They said it stays in one area, but now we know for a fact that it travels throughout your body and goes into your organs like your ovaries. You know what I mean? Like, so fertility-wise, I mean, we saw that after people took the vaccine, how many girls had messed up periods? How many of my daughter's young teenage friends' periods stopped altogether? How many women over 60 who are on menopausal suddenly had major periods and they clotted big time? What's going on? And they denied it. That was another misinformation I got canceled for. When I shared the testimonies of so many of my followers who were having menstrual issues, I got canceled for that.
They
weren't allowed
canceled
to
you
share
5
that.
times?
6 times.
6
Because I recently got
times.
canceled, and then I got reinstated 6 times.
So it was like being in North Korea and speaking something
We had to
again.
speak in code.
Right.
Like, I never said
I know,
vax,
it's so
I said
absurd.
schmacks. Schmacks was my word.
Right. It's
Okay,
so absurd.
so literally, like the ivermectin was eye drug. You know, you had to speak in code, otherwise they flagged you. And it didn't really help because I got canceled anyways, even with the code.
But you kept pushing.
Every time I got canceled, I just opened up another account and rebuilt myself from scratch. Could you imagine that?
Wow, losing
Could you
all those
imagine
followers
losing
every time?
25,000
And Instagram
followers?
doesn't make it easy. It's not like Instagram's like, here, we'll help grow your account. They make this difficult
Forget
as possible.
that it doesn't make it easy.
Yeah.
They shadow ban you.
Right.
So even now I'm shadow banned. So even though I have now 16,000 followers, it's not like I'm growing so easily because they're not showing me to anybody. I'm completely shadow banned. Oh, and then they warn you when you follow me. That's the part that really angers me.
A number of accounts,
They
pro-Israel,
warn you.
positive accounts that I know for a fact almost never share misinformation. Now, when you're sharing social media on these big accounts often, sure, once in a while something
You'll
slips
make a
through the cracks.
mistake.
But
You can
then
make mistakes.
You see these accounts, these pro-Palestinian accounts like Code Pink, for example. They're literally straight out lying day in and day out, making up just random conspiracy theories and stories, posting them to their thousands of
Look at Candace
viewers,
Owens.
and you can't get them offline.
Look at Candace
Owens. Yeah, she's literally the biggest peddler of fake
the Holocaust
news.
denier, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I speak about stupid things like canola.
Health.
Canola oil. I had a post about canola oil because now I'm very into like, don't eat seed oils, only olive oil, and and I think I spoke negatively about canola oil. Someone got mad. My post got canceled for
and
that.
then throw Israel in the mix and the fact that you're a proud Zionist and Jewish. By the way, for those of you watching on YouTube, this is your artwork.
Yeah.
The first time you were on my show, it was behind me, and you were like, I designed that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even make the connection. I
Yeah.
said, what do you mean? And you said that you had a deep connection with the Fold family after Ari was killed.
I had very little connection with the Fold family before he was killed. And then I created this image. It went viral, and that image was able to raise, I don't even remember the number, but it was a tremendous amount of money for the family as well as Ari's cause. And then I became connected to the Fold family from there.
Right. So I felt, I was very influenced by Ari to make Aliyah.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to listen to his podcast, and I want to feel that zeal. I want to feel that fury when Israelis are being attacked again for living in Yehuda and Shomron, for living in all parts of Israel, that a country that I grew up knowing clear and well belongs to the Jewish people. I mean,
look at Hillel, how he's taking over the reins.
Yeah, Hillel's also
Look at
amazing.
how he's taking over
and
the
he's using
reins.
his talent, is his formula to connect to people and to share the truth
amazing.
about Israel.
It's amazing what he's doing.
So you made this artwork. It was in my studio, and we've had that connection ever since. And when I was setting up the set here, I said I have to have the Lion of Zion on. So and now that you're here, it just feels really right. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about why you made Aliyah. I mean, I know why. I know why.
You know why. Right.
Make Aliyah. But I'm just saying, like, tell me a little bit about.
What brought us?
I'm surprised because it's really, you can take the girl out of New York, but you can't take New York out of the girl.
True.
To me, you're
and
a
the
New
five
Yorker.
towns is especially a big deal. It's
Yeah.
very hard to leave the five towns. I mean, there's nothing really more comfortable than the five towns.
Okay, so
it's a really
how
good
did
life.
this develop? What was that moment you were like, I think I'm moving to Israel?
COVID.
Really?
Yeah. March
Wow.
2020, COVID hits.
But we had pretty draconian
that's why it took me 2 years.
You're like, you're going to come fight in Israel?
No. I actually thought that if I moved to Israel during COVID, I would get arrested. So I really felt like I didn't belong there during COVID.
Right.
When I saw what was happening in Israel, which was shocking beyond shocking to me.
I was in it, so.
Shocking, like I can't even describe to you how shocked I was. I think
the
that
fact that we couldn't leave our houses?
That was the one
The fact
thing.
that we couldn't go to school?
I'll tell you something. I've been right about everything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this with an ego, but I was wrong about one thing, and that was how Israel reacted to COVID. When COVID hit, I turned to my husband and I said, listen, COVID's here. They're going to do a lot of crazy stuff. This is probably a month in, because the first month I was crazy like everyone else. But a month or two in, when I started opening my eyes, I said, something very bad is happening. Something sinister is happening in America. We need to get to Israel because Israel will be the one safe place. Israel will be good because Israelis are smart. I said this to my husband. They don't put up with any BS. They don't follow orders. And we need to be, and when it comes to vaccines, they don't force it. I said, I see they're about to force this vaccine, and I was not an anti-vaxxer, but I wasn't going to take an experiment. I said, we need to get out of here fast. So I started Nefesh B'Nefesh application in probably May of 2020, when I started realizing that something sinister was happening.
Very interesting observation about Israelis, because on the one hand, it's more of a socialized healthcare system than you have in abroad in America, and we are fairly trusting of the government's involvement in our healthcare.
I didn't know that. I thought that Israelis are the opposite of that. And because I know Israelis are very Israelis, I said, nah, Israelis are never going to follow orders.
We spend a lot of time in the clinics.
Plus, it's all Jews, and Jews tend to get around to everything.
And we trust each other. So you don't think that your doctor doesn't have, and they usually do have your best intentions, but there's a pharmaceutical company that's being paid somewhere.
That's on top of them. And they have no choice but to, you know what I mean? So
you make Aliyah.
Yeah.
And
so I applied for Nefesh B'Nefesh, and I right away made my kids Israeli because I'm Israeli. So I said, if Israel decides to shut their borders to Americans, my kids are not going to get locked out of Israel. So I turned them Israeli. And then when I saw what was happening in Israel, which started like probably in the summer of 2020, I turned to my husband and I said, listen, I want to go to Israel. My dream is to make Aliyah, but not now. Because if we go to Israel right now, I will be arrested. Like I will be. I will be that person who will stand up against...
We don't have any rooms in our jails, don't worry.
Right. I would have been...
Things have changed.
I know myself. I would have been this outspoken person against all the mandates. And you see the way Israelis are. They arrest you for going on a bus without paying, without swiping.
Yeah.
I would have been that person, So I said to my husband, we can't be in Israel right now. Florida. Freedom.
Oh, I always
DeSantis.
say, hey, Florida is always the last stop before Aliyah. That was my last stop before Aliyah, and I grew up there. What do you mean?
I went to Miami Beach.
I left New York.
Yeah.
I moved to Miami. My parents live in Miami Beach. That's where we raised our kids the last few years.
That's where I went to, your hometown.
And it's the last stop before Aliyah because it fits the bill as far as living safely as a Jew. We have a great governor. He was involved with the DeSantis is
I went
amazing.
for DeSantis. I literally followed DeSantis.
We've had, thank God.
Yeah. So I went to Florida and had a great 2 years. Loved it. And then we were at a turning point. Do we go back to New York or do we make Aliyah? And we really were not sure. We knew we wanted to be in Israel, but a lot of things had to fall into place, especially my husband's parnasa. That had to, and in the beginning we thought we couldn't do it. He couldn't leave his, he couldn't do it for work. So we were resigned to go back to New York. And it was a summer last year where we bought an apartment in Israel. We fulfilled our dream of owning. So we figured at least let's own in Yerushalayim. So we decided to spend the summer of 2023 in Israel. And the minute I stepped into my apartment, I turned to my husband. I said, listen to me, Jonathan, we're not leaving. We're staying. Wow. Figure it out with your work. And he called his company. Thank you. He called his company and he said, I'd like to stay here. Is there any way we could work it out? And they said, well, we have an office in Dubai. And he's like, okay.
Close enough. Does he work in Dubai?
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't work in Dubai, but he's officially working once. He's working from Dubai, meaning they needed him to be part of something, and Dubai is close enough, so he's part of Dubai.
Right.
And that was how we were able to make it happen.
So you are here now. Have you been arrested?
No, because what I'm finding is that there's a lot of people like me who are of the same mindset. I'm meeting so many people who felt that the whole COVID thing was a disaster.
Israelis we're our own worst critics.
And what I'm learning is that I was right, not about most Israelis, but a lot of Israelis never followed the rules. And I have a lot of friends here. I have a lot of friends here who did not vaccinate and got away with it, because at the end of the day, even though Israel was basically forced,
they're not going to hold you down.
They were forcing you with the stupid green pass.
Right.
It was so easy to get around it that
that's why
so many
people didn't take it seriously.
People did not take it seriously.
Because you see how it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense.
They didn't take it seriously.
The restrictions for flying, I couldn't take 2 kids to my sister's wedding. They have to postpone it for a week. They were perfectly healthy. They were children. They were not high risk. There were no symptoms, but we had to push off the week and traumatize them.
Right. So I think I think I was right about Israeli nature, but I was wrong about the overall reaction of Israelis to what happened. But there was a percentage of Israelis that were me, and I could have survived in Israel. I don't think I would have gotten arrested at the end. I think I would have been able to live and not vaccinate and be outspoken, because there were a lot of people, let's talk about Avi Below, as you know him. He was the most outspoken person, exactly my mindset.
Also canceled a bunch of times.
And he was canceled, and he survived, and his kids were not vaccinated, and he was great. So I could have, but I think I was terrified of Israel at that point. And then once I'm here, I'm realizing that, no, people in Israel, they don't follow rules so much. You know what I mean?
Right.
You could get away with not.
You know what rules we do follow? The rules of war, unlike our enemies. So let's transition into what's happening here, what people need to know. Because now that we know that you were right on a whole bunch of things, and that Facebook and all the censorships were wrong on a whole bunch of things. Yeah. And hopefully YouTube will just keep the show on the air. Yeah, imagine getting canceled the 3rd episode in. That would be crazy. Thanks for coming to the show, Michal.
Yeah, and I got you canceled.
Yeah. Tell us it's so worth it. Yeah. Tell us what we need to know about what the world is believing about the war here in Israel, what we're dealing with. And if you want to even touch upon, I know this is a personal thing, but trauma. Yeah. As somebody who is a victim of, you've suffered from trauma. You had something you could share as much as you'd like about
trauma,
your family history.
Absolutely, yeah.
How that makes you relate to Israelis here, and what the world can learn from the resilience of the Jewish people despite everything. I mean, look at you. You are a survivor, and you're amazing, and you're saving other people. So.
Thank you. So definitely I'm a survivor of a trauma. My father was murdered, and our story was crazy because he was missing, and he was missing for 19 years. So similar, I'm not going to compare, but having somebody disappear and not know where the body is,
like the hostages.
I can relate in that respect, although it is very different. I'm never going to say it's the same situation, but the pain that we went through, the financial pain that we went through, and also being alone. Because one thing you could say is that, thank God, they're not alone. We're there for what's happening in Israel. We're there for these families, and we're helping them, and the government hopefully is giving them some money. But in my case, there was no one helping us. Zero. We were literally alone. So we lost our home, and my mother struggled. And so I went through trauma, and I think that's why during COVID, I realized that there was something massive happening that's going to hurt so many people. And I wanted to write a book about what I went through so I could help people get through trauma and show that you could survive. And I started writing my book. I haven't finished it. I need to focus and finish it.
You'll have to come back on the show to promote it.
Yeah, I need to finish it. But, you could survive anything as long as you just continue. Because as long as you're alive, you can just continue. You have to continue.
One foot in front of the other.
Right. You have to just continue and not fall into despair. And you see this with a lot of the people who lost loved ones in such horrific ways. I admire them so much because they literally are continuing, and their head is held high, and they're inspiring us.
There was
so
a
much.
lot of criticism about Noah Argamani at a party dancing in a bathing suit. Now,
it's great. It's amazing.
To suggest that she's somehow less of a victim, less traumatized, or suffering less because she could take a moment and live, that's what we do here. And that's a very good, lesson, because you really do need that aspect of joy when you suffer from extreme trauma and extreme...
What's the alternative for her to just be depressed and want to, commit suicide, which unfortunately there are those survivors who have committed suicide, as you know?
Just one last week.
I mean, is that a better alternative? Or she's a beautiful girl, dress in a nice dress, go out and, be a model and get, why not? Let her do whatever she needs to do to have joy and some positivity in her life. So that's how I lived my life, and that's how I survived my trauma. I just said, you know what? I'm not going to be one of those depressed people. I'm not going to be a victim. Don't be a victim. So
listen, I'm experiencing a country at war alongside my fellow Israelis. I know people here are sabras, and they have a thick skin considering what we have to deal with. And you really have an appreciation for Israelis and how they cope, and how they can get up in the morning and go do Zumba or sit at a cafe, even though I don't want the world to ever believe that we're not deeply, deeply heartbroken and we're heartbroken. I mean, there's no other word. Our hearts are smashed to a million pieces.
But you can compartmentalize. Like, I was just in Europe for 10 days. I had the best time. I was worried, will I have a good time considering what's going on in Israel? But I was able to separate and enjoy the moment. And you have to be able to enjoy every moment of your life, every joy, every wedding, every simcha, every flower, you have to.
Yeah, and that's what Israelis are doing.
They do it amazingly.
Yeah, so I feel
that's why it's tolerable to be here during this crazy year. Everyone says, "Oh, bad timing." I'm like, no, actually, incredible timing.
No, we're seeing something that we're going to look back in history and be like, "Wow, what a remarkable nation." It's not sprung back, because I was telling my husband we're entering a second year of mourning, because we had 5 soldiers die this week alone.
Yeah,
and I actually forgot to mention their names in the beginning part of my show, so I'm gonna add it all now to the end, because this is a loss for the entire country. We're a very small nation, and we're all deeply connected and related as Jews and as Israelis, and every loss is personal, and every funeral is attended on Zoom by tens of thousands of Israelis who can attend, and then attended in person by tens of thousands of Israelis. The soldiers who die, they're our children, they're our brothers, they're our family, and still we can go to a party and to a wedding and to a festival.
Yeah, I saw you at the dance.
We met at the dance.
Right.
Yeah,
we will dance again, Hadassah. Yeah, right. And there we were dancing,
and it felt very bittersweet.
Yeah,
very bittersweet. But if you take away anything from this conversation, it's number one, to seek the truth, and even if you're censored, or even more so if you're censored, realize that there's a reason that there's pushback, and it's usually a nefarious reason. Unfortunately, there's a lot of evil in the world. We've been exposed to it more and more over the last 11 months. Obviously,
there's
starting
definitely
with
a
Hamas.
larger agenda, and I do believe that they are at war against God. I believe a lot of what's happening is mamash a war against Hashem. They want to destroy Hashem by destroying the family, by destroying the sexes, by destroying the genders, by poisoning our foods, by poisoning our
out of school.
Skies, by poisoning our bodies with a lot of pharmaceuticals that are not good for us.
It says in the Torah, you have to take care of your body. Yeah. It's a holy vessel for your soul.
It is a war against Hashem. Even the war of natural immunity was a war against Hashem, because they literally were insulting Hashem. Hashem created a body that can fight this virus. 99.9% of people were able to survive this virus. That was a fact. Okay? And they decided, no, everyone needs an intervention. Your natural immunity is not good enough, and your natural antibodies are not good enough.
And we should cover your kids' faces for 3 years and hope they do well.
Even though Hashem created this amazing respiratory system and all these things, it was amazing. If you look at Hashem's creation, there's nothing more amazing than what Hashem created. No human can ever copy it.
The remedy is already incorporated in the vessel, like we can heal
our bodies
from
are
within.
wondrous things.
Yeah.
And the more you get into the natural holistic world, the more you realize that we are created in such a brilliant way that no robot will ever mimic it, and no pharmaceutical product can ever mimic even something as simple as breast milk. Okay? They encourage people to give their kids formula. But when you see what is in formula versus what breast milk does to a child, it's the most brilliant thing, breast milk. It changes its formula based on the time of day.
Because God,
the
God
hormones in it changes. It's incredible. It raises your IQ. But they prefer stupid people. So take the formula with the soy.
So you must be so conflicted about Israel sending the Palestinians the polio vaccine.
Oh, I'm actually very pleased about that.
So you're not conflicted at all.
No, I'm actually like, great.
All right, makes perfect
if you know what I mean. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like, no, I don't believe in that
Better
anymore.
to them than to our kids.
I don't believe in that anymore. And you know what? A lot of people are very, when they see somebody who's anti-vax or appears to be anti-vax, right away they're like, no, that's a horrible thing to be. Do you understand how the vaccines have saved humanity? And they have all these arguments. Well, guess where all those arguments are coming from? They're not coming from research. They didn't research. It's coming from repeating the lines that they were told. Safe and effective. Follow the science.
Genocide, apartheid.
Smallpox saved the world, blah, blah, blah. The problem is, don't take my word for it. Just do research. And there's tons of books, starting with the book Turtles all the way down, okay? Continuing with movies and documentaries, do the research and then make a decision. You saw how they lied about COVID. You don't think they lied about everything else? You don't think 100 years ago they lied? There's so many lies that unfortunately, COVID has woken up a lot of people to an extreme where you don't trust any pharmaceutical intervention, and you try your best to be more natural and avoid it.
Right.
You know?
And you do trust the Weekly Squeeze because we have the best guests, and they tell us like it is. And I just want to thank you for coming out here and sharing all the things that you know. Where can people find you and support you as you continue on this journey of speaking your mind and living the dream.
Sharing my Aliyah journey.
Yes,
5
living the
towns
dream.
girl, in Baca now. The main place is Instagram, at MLW Design NY. Warning, they're going to tell you not to follow me when you follow me. They're going to say, this account is misinformation, but hopefully they'll let you follow me. And, that's
and it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you for being here,
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So there you have it, episode 210 of the Weekly Squeeze podcast. I hope you love the show. Regardless, please subscribe, leave me a 5-star rating, and make sure to tell your friends that there's a podcast that everyone's listening to and talking about. Drop a link in a WhatsApp chat, and be sure to come back here the next time I will be here, which is next week.